Well, it's my turn to introduce our next speaker. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Maureen Ramamurti, as Bill just mentioned. I'm Director of Unidata, and it is my distinct honor and high privilege to introduce my close friend, colleague, for many, many years, Rich Clark, a longtime and illustrious member of the UCAR family. I've known Rich for more than 25 years now, and I'm sure he's going to make fun of that. When we both served on, during the early days of Unidata Users Committee in the 90s. It's hard to believe how fast time has gone by, in these intervening years. Many of you may know that Rich Clark is the chair of the Department of Earth Sciences and Professor of Meteorology at the Millersville University of Pennsylvania, where he has been for nearly 30 years. His research interests include boundary layer studies and air chemistry, and it also extends to space weather and climate science. I should also add that many of his studies have a special emphasis on field observations using remote sensing and balloon-borne platforms or instruments. So he and his students get to operate some of the coolest instruments in many of the field campaigns that he has been part of. He also has a strong interest in heliophysics and is spearheading the development of academic minor and curriculum in MS in integrated scientific applications. And he's presently developing another new BS program in environmental engineering. Rich has a PhD in atmospheric sciences from University of Wyoming, and he is a member of the American Geophysical Union and Sigma Xi. He's also a fellow of the American Meteorological Society, and he has served as a member of the AMS Council and completed 2 terms on the council. He has also been a member of the UCAR Board of Trustees for about 6 years. He's been the recipient of one of the awards that Unidata hands out to an exemplary community member, the Russell L. DeSouza Award that was awarded to him for outstanding contributions to the Unidata community in 2006. In 2008, he was also awarded the American Meteorological Society Teaching Excellence Award, which is given to the best teacher in the atmospheric science community. I have known that Rich has gained a lot of wisdom over his career from the brilliant American stand-up comedian, actor, author, social and political critic, George Carlin. So I wouldn't be surprised if he weaves George Carlin jokes into his presentation today. Please join me in welcoming Rich Clark to give his presentation. I extend him the heartiest of welcomes. Come on over, Rich.
Okay, that's the university perspective. Thank you. That introduction, Mohan, is what they call, is what you get whenever you're a mile wide and an inch deep, just like the Platte, right? You may wonder, how does a person in boundary layer become interested in heliophysics? Blame it on Lika. Where's Lika? No, seriously, I did graduate work in astronomy and solar physics, and I absolutely love astronomy just as much as atmospheric science. I feel really humbled to be asked to do this. I don't know if I can represent the universities, the role of UPC in meeting the evolving needs of the universities. I can speak from a personal perspective, and maybe that I can touch on some things that some of you who have been involved in the same meetings and committees that I've been involved in will also, I'll be able to sort of, pin something on you, and you'll be able to reflect on that. I'm going to come back to you all, by the way, and ask you to share some of your stories at the end, because I know that those of you at universities have relied on the programs at UCP over the years and probably find them indispensable. I'm going to focus on two primarily, because there's some that I haven't used very much. I know about, but because I've been involved in this, but I haven't used them myself. So I'm going to focus primarily on my experience in Unidata, my experience with Comet. And recently that experience in Comet has been reflourished, I guess, through a grant that we received. And I believe it was the first NSF grant ever to be received by the Comet program. Is that correct? Yeah. So I'm proud of that, actually, to be able to have something to do with that. So let me see if I can get this. Oh, that works. I borrowed a couple slides from Bill to just sort of start off the process a little bit. And I wanted to say, I see so many familiar faces here from Unidata and Comet, and it was nice seeing Tim. And Dave, I didn't know you were going to be here. I was looking all over the web last night for you playing the trumpet to somebody's birthday or anniversary. And I was going to put it on here without your copyright permission. But anyway, it's nice to see you. So these are the 6 programs within the UCP, which used to be called UOP, right? University, UCAR Office of Programs, and now it's UCAR Community Programs, and a better name for it. In no particular order here, Unidata, and this is just a summary. These, obviously, they do so much more than this, and their mission statements are a little bit more elaborate. But Unidata, we all get our data via the IDD, and we display our data via the IDV. And I'm almost reminded of that song, LBJ took the IRT down to 4th Street, USA. When he got there, what did he see? The Youth of America on LSD. It's all about acronyms, you know? It seems like it's, and Unidata is the best place. Next to like the Defense Department, is probably the best place for acronyms. But so what do? They give us all the things that we need. They're our lifeblood. Unidata is our lifeblood. I mean, they every single day, every single day we're throughputing, I forget now, 100 gigabytes, maybe somebody can correct me, 50 to 100 gigabytes a day of data we throughput. No, I'm not saying we use all of that. We use it as necessary in the classroom, and we throw some of it downstream to other users. But it's really quite remarkable. The Cosmic program, I've just sort of been peripherally involved in that. I was involved in the user committee and the policy committee in Unidata whenever Cosmic was sort of coming to fruition, and I was on the board of trustees whenever the Ricantes brought this to their attention and all. And this is really quite an interesting program, and our students use the data, but I can't go too much beyond that. CPACE, formerly JOS, my only involvement in that was whenever I was trying to be involved in MirageMex, which didn't happen, and that was probably a fortunate thing, because the tethered balloon system that was involved in MirageMex was stuck in Veracruz for almost the entire project. So, but you know, anytime you have a complex situation, a complex scientific situation where you need to be able to put equipment in the field, CPAS is the place to go. And it also houses, where's Hannah? It also houses the Visiting Scientist program, which is at a fairly new thing, correct? Oh, yeah, right. That's what I thought. Okay. And then Comet, I'm going to touch on that in much more detail later, but we have known Comet for a long time. This is my 31st year teaching at Millersville, and I can remember whenever the discs were this big. I was smaller then. No, literally, I was going to put an image up, but I remember the first disc. They were, what, 18 inches or 16 inches? And you sort of had to slide them into this thing. And the radar meteorology disc, the radar meteorology was the first one, right? And it was very quickly did they go into CD size and, what is it, 20? Yeah, it was marvelous. It was marvelous. But anyway, I'm sort of getting ahead of myself here. And then SIAD, that provides, we all know about the SOARS program. Probably one of the shining stars of our community is the SOARS program, especially for bringing in diverse communities. And we've had students involved in it. I'm sure a lot of you have as well. And I'll say something a little bit more about that. So I'm going to start with Unidata. And this is sort of the boilerplate slide, established in 1984. Is Yoxis here? Tom? Too bad. Anyway, I was a graduate student at University of Wyoming, and Yoxis was the IT person there whenever I first started. And I was no sooner there, and all of a sudden he says, I'm leaving. Where are you going? And he wasn't going directly to Unidata at that time. He was going, but he's come to Boulder he was involved in another company. I forget what it was. Ophir? Does that sound right? All right. Anyway, so he left Wyoming, and before you knew it, he was talking about this thing called Unidata, and they were gathering up some people together to bring data to the universities and whatever it was, and Yoxis and I have been friends for ever since, and but that goes back a long time, and registered users funded by the NSF. It gets its funding stream from the NSF. There are lots of users worldwide, 1,500 academic institutions worldwide, 100,000 downloads of NetCDF. Russ Rue is here. Can I say the principal author of NetCDF? I think that's, the accomplishments that Unidata has made over the years are profound. They've had a profound influence on our community. Not just the people sitting here, but worldwide. Okay, NetCDF has become the standard. And so, it's really humbling for me to be part of this community where such prolific innovation has taken place. I just find it amazing. I'm going to go on from there. You can read that, but you've seen that before. I wanted to put up some old pictures because whenever I was a young fellow, I didn't get my PhD till I was 38 because I used to be a textile chemist in a previous life. And so I came to Millersville, and Russ D'Souza and Bob Ross were the two faculty members there before me. Russ D'Souza is the person pictured in the blue shirt and on the far right of the bottom picture. And here's my first association with Unidata. Russ D'Souza was on the user committee. And he would go off to Boulder for a few days, and then he would come back to Millersville, and I would see him, and it was like, you remember Jeff Goldblum in The Right Stuff running down the hallway? And he says, open up, it's Sputnik. And they said, we all know? Well, I didn't know. But he was the guy running down the hall saying, and it's Mercatus OS2. And I was like, oh crap, what do we have to do now? I always felt stressed out. I was always stressed out whenever he came back from the Unidata users meeting because I was totally like, we were already so busy. There were just three of us, and we had these CRT computers. There you see it, running Mercatus OS and Mercatus X, and what's the next generation? We had, then Genpack came along at some point. And we had these satellite data. We got our data from satellite, right? And you see Yoxis there, a little darker hair, all All of us had darker hair then and longer hair. But you see them mopping off the satellite dish. On our end, we're the receivers. We were doing the same thing. Okay, the snowfall in Pennsylvania, there it was. We had students sleeping in this small room that we called our synoptic lab. Our weather station was a 6x8 closet, literally a 6x8 closet where we had the Zephyr in there, if you remember Zephyr, right? And so on our end, the students would stay in there, and as the snow was falling outside, they would be out there sweeping off the satellite dishes so that we would continue to get data during the snowstorm. I mean, it was an exciting time. It was different, and we simply didn't know any better. There wasn't the internet data stream and all of that other stuff. We didn't know any better, so we just kept on doing it. And look at the list of things that they've accomplished. And this is just a short list, okay? I mean, LDM, local data manager, we all have one, right? It's what the IDD recognizes whenever it gets there. IDD, internet data, this is a Unidata invention. And it's how data is distributed. And if we go down, so what? It's just like the brain, it reroutes itself, IDV, I'll talk a little bit more about IDV in a moment. Macitus is still prolific software, NetCDF, Threads, Ramada, OpenDAP, AWIPS2, and I added support. It's different from all of the other terms above it because they provide support. You need something, you have a question, you call them, or there's the online, it's like blog or whatever it's called, and so but you can get answers, and you can get answers quickly. Not too many organizations are like that. And there's no organization, I think, that comes close to rivaling what Unidata does for this community. Community-based governance. It started off having two committees, a user committee and a policy committee. I think the policy committee is now called the Strategic Advisory Committee, correct? But it was, the user committee is what it says. It was ground up. It was groundswell. This is what the users want. This is what the users need. And on the top end, I remember Linda and Dave and Ben and Mohan coming into the meetings and saying, here's what we're finding out. Here's what we're hearing from NOAA. Here's what we're hearing from NCEP, not NCEP, NCDC, which is a different name now. But this is what we're hearing from these organizations. How can we make use? How can we get agreements with these, articulation agreements with these organizations so that we can stream their data to you? That was the top down. And at the same time, the user was just saying, okay, that's great, we can get the data, but here's what it looks like. Here's what it needs to look like in order for us to be able to use it properly. So it was this constant play back and forth, the most democratic environment you can imagine. Facilitate, that sort of goes with it, facilitated consensus building. And the reason why I put it there is to remind myself to talk about the whole Met Apps experience. For those of you at Unidata, you remember that. Clint, you remember the Met Apps thing. That was pre-IDV. Met Apps was a group, remember? Tom Whitaker is probably not here, huh? Would have been great to see Tom. He would have had a colored tie. But Tom Whitaker was, I remember he was on the technical advisory committee, and he would come to the meetings, and you talk about you want it all and you want it now. We would come to the meeting saying, this is what this next generation of data rendering, graphics display package has to look like. And it has to have everything. It has to plot this, it has to do that, it has to ooh-coo-coo-chook it all, you know what I mean? It has to do everything. And do it well, and in color, three-dimensional. And it does. It's amazing, I think. It empowers universities in this way. How many of you have gone to your dean, or your chair, or your dean, or your provost, and say, I need $18,000 for a new server? I say that because that's exactly what I just said the other day to my and we got it. And we got it. It just took an ask. And it didn't say, and it wasn't like, well, okay, we can't find this. It was like, we need $18,000 to keep the data stream going because Go16 is online now, and we're going to have an order of magnitude more data. Oh, really? We happen to be sort of Millersville's a smaller university, 8,000 students. We happen to sort of be the big fish in a little pond at our university, so we tend to get what we want most of the time. Pretty soon we had $18,000 and we're in the process of buying a new twister, that's the name of our data server, and putting in a virtual server and all this. And I'll bet you've done the same thing. You use Unidata to get what you want. And that's what I mean there by empowering universities. It empowers us in many ways, but that's one way that it empowers universities. I better move on. They also offer workshops here, but then they give the opportunity. They bring people to us. Regional workshop offered in April at Millersville University. About 20 people were involved. And one of the things that I've been involved with, and Unidata was one of 9 partners involved, was the LEAD project, Linked Environments for Atmospheric Discovery. As Bernard knows, I see NSF there, and I think Manda's here from NSF and others. That was a big project. That was the first ever atmospheric science collaborative ITR research project. $11 million, something like that. Involved everybody. And you know what LEAD is today? When you talk about empowering, and Unidata was part of it, because Unidata was I don't know if you can, how much you can see there, but it says the LEAD data cloud, and it's all of this via IDD, and there's the data cloud, there's thread servers in place and being negotiated and all of that. You know what LEAD is today? Much more than it was then. It's I want to say EarthScope, not EarthScope. EarthCube. EarthCube is a big project. If you go to an EarthCube meeting, and I've been to several, what do we talk about? We talk about data management. We talk about ontologies and semantics and data mining and workflows. That was all LEAD. LEAD was bringing real-time, on-demand, dynamically adaptive workflows, so that the models could adapt to the input of ingestion of data as they were moving forward. It was a small scale, it was conceptual, but it was marvelous. I've already mentioned those. These are a lot of things that Unidata provides and we use routinely. And I'll just show you, let's see if I can do this. Do I just push on the center button to get it to work? Oh, there we go. This is IDV. You can go in, you can fly around data. You can put it on autopilot and track like a isentrope. I mean, I think it's, we're looking at a wind field, an ice attack of wind field. So we can move, this is a project, by the way, Empowering University. Geopod's a project that Millersville worked on to create a GUI front end to IDV. But it's IDV running in the background. It's all IDV in the background. Don't kid yourself. We didn't do anything with IDV. Well, we sort of did, but nothing spectacular. But we designed this this GUI front end so that you can actually act like you're moving around in a geopod through the data. If anybody wants to look at this, you can do that. I want to move on from it. Can advance that? There we go. Okay. Cosmic, I'm already running out of time, and because there's other people going to be talking about this better than I can, I'm not going to spend so much time. One thing I am proud of is that our students are starting to use this data, and I'm happy to see that. They're undergraduate students, and they're starting to use this data. CPAS, what used to be JOS, what used to be the visiting, what used to be JOSH and what still is a visiting science program are now combined into CPAS. It handles, like it says, these complex scientific challenges. And I want to focus a little bit now on COMET, because anybody's in the university community, you've used the COMET modules. They are wonderful, wonderful learning supplements. I require them in my courses. And every course that I teach, I select the appropriate comment modules, and these modules you have to finish, and you have to take the quizzes, and they send the quizzes to me, but they'll forget to change their supervisor, so it'll go to the last faculty member that asked them to do that. But, 500,000 registered users, and these topics are not only is it a broad plethora of topics, but they are deep, and they are suitably deep to undergraduate education especially, So we find, by the way, we're extremely interested in these two. We have an applied engineering program at Millersville, and we're going to start doing this 3D printing. I was just going to buy a new weather station. I decided from this meeting not to. We're going to build one. So Comet has been through Tim's leadership, and then Rich, I think Rich is here. Yeah, there's Rich Jeffries. Now Liz, Greg has been involved, I see Greg in the back there, has been involved throughout the years. They do marvelous things, and they interact with the community in a way that is unique in our field. So what they supply is not just these graphics and these animations, but they come with learning objects and learning objectives. They come with pre-tests, pre-assessment, and post-assessment tests. Everybody at the university knows how important that is today. It's all about assessment, right? They have quizzes, they have surveys, they have these pre-post tests. The learning objectives, here's some learning objectives on a module. We have a project right now, it's funded, the Comet and EOL and Millersville University. It's called Segway. I don't even remember what the acronym stands for anymore. But we are developing a suite of 10 modules to be used in instrumentation courses. Okay, it's meteorological, instrumentation, measurement, and all of that. And so here's one that we're developing that I happen to be, myself and Al Cooper, happen to be subject matter experts on. I'll say he's the expert and I just sort of tag along. No, meteorological measurement, instrument performance characteristics. It's a very sophisticated module with all kinds of really cool animations that you can evaluate uncertainties, you can look at instrument, systematic errors, random errors, stuff like that. But one of the things that's nice about this module is it comes with these learning objectives right there. You don't have to read them or anything, but apply the law of propagation of uncertainty. It uses the NIST idea, the NIST concepts of uncertainty. So we trace it back to NIST. That's funny. So it actually, everything in this module is sort of like state of the art in terms of instrument performance character. It's not out yet, by the way. It'll be released, I don't know when, a couple months maybe. Yeah, maybe towards the end of the year. Huh? There is one that is out. It's the foundations module. You can check that out. And then there's going to be one on temperature and pressure and humidity and all of that. So Comet also empowers. As far as SciEd, I just want to say something about the SOARS program. For my students that have been involved in SOARS, that is really been a remarkable experience for them. They've all gone the track that SOARS expects them to. They come into SOARS, they become the protégés. They go on. Melissa Burt up at CSU, she was a SOARS person. And people have gone on to varying degrees of success, but all of them way above bar. They're doing really well. And what it's doing for underrepresented minorities in our community is just absolutely excellent. And Globe's been around for a long time. Does it say 1995? And it wasn't with UCP. When was it adopted? Does it say that? UCP used to be on its own, right? It used to be with NASA, right? Anyway. So these are, I don't have much to say about Globe other than that I know that it's been an extremely valuable program for next generation scientists, and especially because it is worldwide, it does get into communities that we as U.S. universities may not. So I'll end there. I have maybe 1 or 2 minutes. You know, Clint, have you been thinking about anything? I mentioned to Clint, I said, I'm going to call on you later and share your story, because so many of you probably have your own stories, and you can tell it better than I can about your experience with UCP. But we have just a couple minutes, maybe.
I was saying, you said you went to your dean and asked for a new server, right? Well, I had a dean come down and play one day when our display went blank. Other maps. Went blank and one of the deans.
Depends on it. Yeah, absolutely.
It's a great recruiting device, everything.
Anyone else want to share a story?
30 years at least.
Yeah, yeah. Questions?
Last week, got out of there just before the fire. I met 4 Navy weather forecasters at the top of Point Tower, being tourists, because it's week. And I asked them, have they ever heard of the Comet module? And, oh my God, we use them all the time. And we love them. And this is totally random. That they, sailors off, and they're. Also, want to say that I was in Turkey. So I went into a classroom and found out who I was, not Spanish, but a comic director. So these things are all.
Yeah. Anyone else want to share anything? Thanks for listening to me. I appreciate it.